welcome you here to this session. We're delighted to have Jessica Mendoza with us and to be interviewed by Rhiannon Potke from Ventura County Star. This event is brought to you by the Victory Club, which is the still relatively new athletic booster club here at CLU. In a very short time, the Victory Club has grown to nearly 400 members who are committed to the present and the future of intercollegiate athletics here at Cal Lutheran. And we're delighted to have this second in a series that the Victory Club has kicked off. Part of what the Victory Club believes in, beyond supporting athletics here, is being a resource to the community, be able to reach out to others in the community. So it's great to see folks from off campus, softball superstars and Olympians to be here with us. A special welcome to everyone, particularly if it's your first time coming to our campus. It's great to have you here. We're going to have a terrific evening, and before we get started, I wanted to introduce you to the person who is the chair of the Victory Club, a Cal Lutheran alum and student athlete himself, Mr. Chad Ullman. Chad?
I'm going to read off here tonight. I apologize for reading, but I am going to give a little history about Jessica and what she's done in her career with softball. And I'd first like to say thank you tonight to our co-sponsor, the Ventura County Star, and especially to the sports writer, Rhiannon Potke. Rhiannon does an excellent job covering all the CLU sports and tracking the progress of former Ventura County athletes as they progress through their careers. Our guest tonight, Jessica Mendoza, is one of the most highly decorated and famous Ventura County athletes. Born and raised in Camarillo, she is a four-time first-team All-American softball player who played at Stanford University. She was a member of the United States women's national softball teams from 2004 to 2010. She played the outfield for the gold medal winning U.S. softball team in the 2004 Olympics in Athens and the silver medal winning team in Beijing in 2008. With her here tonight are her parents, Ken and Gil Mendoza. And,
Karen.
I'm sorry.
It's okay.
Karen and Gil Mendoza, I apologize. And she and her husband, Adam Burks, have two sons named Caleb and Caden. You can also see Jessica on ESPN as a color analysis during the Women's College World Series and as a sideline reporter for the ESPNU. We are so honored that she was able to find the time tonight in her busy schedule to be here with us and make this event special for us. It's not every night that you get to sit down in front of a gold medal winning athlete and be able to hear her stories and the journey she went through. So thank you, Jessica, for being here tonight and taking the time out of your schedule.
Thank you.
And I hope you guys all enjoy. Thank you.
All right. Well, I had some of that stuff written down, but let him say it because I feel like if we listed all your accolades, it would take the whole night away because there's other things.
It's also boring. So.
Yeah, well, I don't agree, but you know. Well, I've had the pleasure of knowing you since we were little kids and watching you become a stud softball player. And the truth is, you were good at like every sport growing up, and just you narrowed it to softball and became an Olympian. I guess that's a good place to start. Is just kind of how you got to where you are coming through. I mean, because a lot of these kids grow up in this county. How did that launch your career to where you are now as probably the most famous softball player, you and Jenny Finch, in the world?
Well, I'm going to disagree that I was good at everything because I definitely was not. No joke. When I was growing up, I mean, I was just, figuring out how to play the game and play a lot of sports. And I loved that I played more than just softball. And I think that was a huge part of finding success later was just not playing one sport, but being able to play multiple sports. And for me, I was so scrawny, I had these long legs, tripping over first base. I mean, striking out at T-ball, like the ball's sitting on a tee and somehow you managed to miss it. Like, just figuring out the game. And I think that's, to me, what's so cool about, meeting a lot of young girls that play the game that are from the area is I'm really not that different at all. Like, I was very much just learning the game and coming into my own. And I felt like I honestly didn't really grow into my body and my skills until college. But it's amazing what work ethic can do. And I know that's so cliche, but to be honest, I was always very insecure that I wasn't good enough. So I always saw myself as being, oh gosh, I'm really bad. I have that image of Phoebe from Friends when she's running and she's just total spaz. that's like what I saw. I was just this total crazy girl trying to figure out how to play the game. But it kept me working harder to get better.
Yeah. Everyone else, I mean, even it was funny because even when I talked to you, you just won a gold medal. You're like, oh, I'm so bad. I got to get in the cage and start hitting again. And I'm thinking, are you serious? So you've carried that work ethic still today. Is that something? I mean, I know your parents, they were saying, is a big influence on your life. How much did they help support your early sports career?
I mean, they're everything. And honestly, I think what's important is the balance. And now that I'm a mom and I have a 4-year-old that we're already thinking about signing up for T-ball and we're going out and hitting, and you see that balance. Like, you know, with my dad, he was always pushing me. I could go 3 for 4 with 3 home runs, and we were going to sit down and talk about that one at bat that I got out and how we could get better, and which was so good, and it pushed me. And then my mom, though, who was like my biggest fan, like I could do no wrong, you know, as long as I was out there playing, you know, she was my biggest supporter. My grandmother is actually here too, and I think it's really important. Jean, the generational support, and I just see that now, like being a mom, I'm like, gosh, I have that balance where I'm like, he's only 4, but I'm like, okay, we really got to work on our hand-eye coordination. What are we doing here? But then I got to remember to be, you know, that supportive balance, and I think every child is different. My parents pushed me. They really did, academically and athletically. It was never good enough, which was so good for me. And that was the kind of person I was. But I think every kid's different. Some need a little bit more encouragement than maybe being hard on them. I needed less encouragement and more just like, let's get after it. Come on. Like, no excuses. Let's go. You got a B, let's get an A. Like, we're not going to sit here and pat you on the back every day. Like, let's do this.
And you went to Stanford, and I think you mentioned all the sports accolades, but you also got a master's degree in education there. How big, was that your biggest goal, was to try to use sports as a vehicle also to get to college? Because I know a lot of these girls probably are thinking they want to play in college. How much did sports help you to be able to get all those great experiences like going to Stanford and getting an education? Was that something that you were cognitively aware of while you were growing up, or?
Definitely. My dad was a scholarship athlete at Fresno State, and I think being surrounded by other great Ventura County athletes, like a lot of people ask, like, who's your role model? And I remember an athlete named Julie Borchard, who was just a local. She went to Camarillo High School. She was on the varsity high school team, and I was in 7th grade, and her younger sister was on my team, so she'd come out to practice. And here was like the shortstop on the varsity high school team. To me, you know, when you're 11, 12 years old, like that's a big deal. And she got a full scholarship to Wisconsin. And I remember thinking that, like, you can go and like play sports like beyond, you know, high school. And it doesn't have to be a big name school. I think just the fact that you can continue to play, that's where, now that I've traveled the world, we're so blessed here in the US to have that opportunity through Title IX and being able to be female athletes at the next level and even get your school paid for. I mean, it's one of the coolest things, and it goes hand in hand with getting good grades. That's what I love about it. Is, you know, a lot of boys that I knew were all about pro. You know, I want to be an NFL player, I want to be in the NBA, and they kind of forgot about school. And I think for us as women, you know, the scholarship's kind of the ultimate thing, and it goes hand in hand with getting good grades. You know, you got to get it done in the field and in the classroom. And I love that all of us female athletes, whether you're 6 years old or 60, you know, we can balance and do so many different things.
And then obviously you were good enough to play in the Olympics twice, and probably 3 times if they didn't take it out, but we'll get to that.
Topic.
Yes, that's another topic. When did you realize that the Olympics was something that you maybe was a possibility in your future? When did that become like, okay, maybe I have a chance to be an Olympian?
Honestly, probably not until I stepped on the field. I'm not even kidding. Like, I remember getting invited to tryouts, and I was so nervous because I looked up to Lisa Fernandez, who is, you know, when I was coming through, was like the biggest name you could ever imagine in sports. I had her poster above my wall. I'd waited in line to get her autograph, and all of a sudden I'm on the same field with her, and I'm like, oh my gosh, like there's Lisa Fernandez. Like, oh my gosh, this is so cool. And I'm like, I gotta go play. Like, I gotta go hit against her. And it was unbelievable for me to think, am I even on the same level as these women that I grew up looking up to? The answer to me was no. Like, what am I doing here? You know, they're just gonna laugh at me. But I learned that I did belong, and I think part of that insecurity that I talked about earlier is what helped drive me to work harder, but I also had to grow up and realize, you know what, I am good enough. And I think that's part of the balance of being a female athlete especially, is like, I think it's really easy to say we're not good or we're not pretty enough and all those things, but it's a lot harder to be like, I belong here. Like, I deserve to be on a gold medal Olympic team, and I deserve to bat third, and I deserve to, be the best and do all these things. And I think it's a hard balance, though, between the two.
Well, I remember after you won the gold and you were the leading hitter, and then you were trying out for the next year, 4 years later. I talked to you I don't think I'm going to make it. I don't think I'm going to make the team. And I was shocked, and you literally didn't think, you were I don't think I have a chance. And you were on a gold medal team. You just were the best hitter on that team. So you still carry that. Is that something that just pushes you? Is just that, not insecurity, but just making sure that you're always a step ahead of everyone? Is that something that is in all realms of your life, or is it just sports?
A motto I've lived by is practice like you're the worst player on the field and play like you're the best. And so for me at practice, I literally would envision I'm not good enough. Everyone here is better than me. And my reaction to that is not to give up, but to rather just work my tail off. And I would, but game day comes, and I had to convince myself, there is no one out here that is better. I'm kicking all your butts. I wouldn't say that, but that's what was going on in my head. And I think that's when I feel I really grew into my, to be the athlete I was, is when I finally realized how to balance both of that.
Yeah.
And be able to still, to this day, think I'm not good enough. Am I going to play? Do I deserve to be here? And think that while I'm working out and I'm up at 5 a.m. running, or I'm, doing the things you just don't want to do. But I'm I'm not good enough. I got to get good enough. I got to do this. And then you step between the lines, and I'm in the batter's box, and I'm staring down Finch or Osterman or whoever, and I'm you're going down, honey.
They flip a switch. That's tough to do, man. That's good.
About 25 years it took.
And we talked about, obviously, it's you weren't a snowboarder, so it's Winter Olympics wasn't your thing, but you were an Olympian, and since we'll be watching it on TV pretty soon, what is it like to represent your country and be in the Olympics? For you, what was that experience like?
It's really like nothing else, and I truly try to avoid, being cliche, but I think for me it didn't hit home until, if you can't tell already, I'm very passionate about softball. I'm very passionate about the sport I play. I love it. I've played it for so long, and you work so hard for something, and then you take that passion and times it by 3 million, and that's how you feel about your country. And you really don't realize that. Because we're here, we grow up here, and you think, okay, I'm from Camarillo, I'm representing Camarillo High School, I'm representing Ventura County, I'm representing California. I'm representing the United States of America, and it's right here across my chest. And for me at the Olympics, I talked to athletes from all over the world. I sat down from athletes from Iraq, Pakistan, everywhere, all over the world, and really got an idea of how blessed we are to be American. And I know it sounds cliche, but you really don't realize it. And then you're over there and you're competing for the sport you love, for a country you love, and then you win. Oh my gosh, the coolest feeling in the world. And that your flag's being raised, and a national anthem that you've heard probably 3,000 times up to that point just has a meaning that it never had before. And you get it, watching it at home, I always wondered, why do they cry? I never understood the emotion that came with being on the podium. And then you're there, and it's you feel everyone in this room and everyone from this country. It's you feel that. It sounds cliche, but you really do.
And speaking of that, I hate to bring up the topic, but I know when softball was taken out of the Olympics, sure, you were kind of bummed that you wouldn't be able to play, but you were more for kids like this. You were just within tears of kids not getting to experience that. Can you kind of give us your thoughts on why, when it was removed, how you felt and why, and then maybe if you know anything of, I know they're trying to get it reinstated, but I know you were more torn up for girls like this that can't experience what you did when it was removed from the Olympics.
Yeah, I thought it was a joke. The way I found out was actually through a reporter. I was in Arizona playing professionally and had this great game, and there were all these reporters, and I'm oh, they're here to talk to me because I did well. And I go, and they're how do you feel about softball being removed from the Olympics? And I was excuse me? And they're yeah, softball's been taken out of the and this was in 2007. So we're 5 years from that Olympic Games. So it didn't even, we're a year from the Olympics, the Olympic team I had already made, and I'm thinking, this is a joke. This is, it needs to be appealed. There's no way they would take softball from the Olympics. That's how much we weren't even on the radar. They had talked about baseball, because of the steroids. That was like the height of the steroid era. So like they wanted baseball out. A lot of the Major League Baseball players don't play in the Olympics, so they wanted baseball out because the best athletes weren't in it. We're only one of 3 sports in the history of the Olympics that has never had a positive drug test. So, I mean, obviously, I'm not roiding up, and either is anybody else. And we sent our best athletes. So the fact that we were lumped into this baseball category just floored me. And like you said, I look at a lot of the young girls, and the beauty about here in the U.S. is we still have college sports and we still have softball. And to be honest, softball is still as strong here. But where it breaks my heart is internationally, and how literally governments have just stopped funding the national teams. So like the sport has like disappeared in countries now. Like countries like Australia, where they're number 3 bronze medalists, and their government literally has stopped funding the sport. And it just makes me sad because girls globally and here in the U.S., it's a dream. And as much as I love professional softball and college softball, nothing will ever touch the Olympics. But on a positive note, hopefully, 2020, I know, it seems like forever from now, they just gave the bid to Tokyo. And Japan, as I remember, I don't know if you guys remember, they won the last Olympics. In fact, it was the first team sport, male or female, in the history of the country to ever win an Olympic medal, was softball. So they obviously want softball and baseball in the Olympics. So the new president, thank goodness we got rid of the old guy, because I was going to take him out myself, but that's another story. They have a new president now, and he really believes that softball and baseball need to be in Tokyo. So he has to change the law to make it happen. This is the year that he would have to do it, but he's pushing for it, so we'll see.
There you go. You've always, like you were saying, going overseas, and you've always been a big giving back to the sport. Is that something was that something instilled in you, or is that just something, why do you feel the need? Because you're everywhere, you travel everywhere, you do clinics, you're always promoting softball, you commit yourself to stuff that you probably, don't have to, but you do. Why is that so important to you to make sure you get the word out to kids like this?
I think just how I was raised. I mean, my father's first generation Mexican American. He grew up in a rougher area, I would say, and sports changed his life. I mean, it literally gave him opportunities that never would have been there before. And I think about how blessed I was to have parents that raised me from the beginning and, buy me a bat and buy me like the stuff that, it costs a lot to play sports. I mean, it's unfortunate, but it's not as easy as it used to be. And so I think I was so blessed to have the opportunity, but I was also blessed to be able to see others that didn't and know the story of my own family, and the fact that sports could be such a game changer. And I never wanted it to be about money or just the fact that you had parents that were going to give you that opportunity. I want to make sure all girls were reached, and boys too. But for me, it's close to my heart is girls. I feel like every girl should be active somehow. I think it's such a healthy thing. And even if you don't go on and play in college or even go on and play in high school, I think just being young and running around and playing this awesome sport. I mean, I love softball, but if you play soccer and some of the others, that's fine, I guess. But I just think it's important to be healthy. I mean, softball has given me a lot more than, when I think about, even scholarship, gold medal, I put that aside when I think about the lifestyle that I've been able to live and the opportunities I've had, the life skills, the confidence. I talk about being insecure. I was insecure off the field too, not thinking that I was good enough or pretty enough. And softball kind of gave me that swag, that ability that when my friends were peer pressuring me to do things I didn't really feel comfortable with, I was able to say, you know what, I want to do what I want to do. I want to kick butt in softball. I want to go to Stanford. I got other plans, ladies. So no. And I think without sport, I would have fallen into a lot more of that. So long answer, but
no, it's a good answer. I like that answer.
I want to help other girls and just try to be that influence if possible.
And obviously you also use softball kind of to get another career in per se. I don't know if you were always thinking broadcasting would be a future career for you. Kind of felt, how did that opportunity come about? Obviously everyone knows you now as the main analyst, you and Michelle Smith for the World Series, and you work with Beth Mullins primarily. How did that opportunity come about, and why did you decide that was what you wanted to do, and how has that experience been, being on ESPN and broadcasting to the world?
Yeah, I definitely never thought I'd be on television. Those that know me well know that a filter is sometimes needed for all the crazy things that come through my mind and out my mouth. And I'm very passionate, and passionate people tend to not always think things through before they say things. And when they first offered me, they said, we'd love for you to audition to be a softball analyst for ESPN. I just started laughing. So I'm like, oh my gosh, you want to put me on national television? You want to put a mic in front of me? But I realized, we do it naturally. We sit around and talk the game, and I'm just so passionate, and I keep using that word, but I really enjoy the sport, and I didn't realize that it's something that just naturally, I think we all do. If I'm watching a game, I'll go out, I went out to Moore Park High School because I live in Moore Park now, and I just went out to their high school game this last spring, and I'm watching, and I'm sitting next to some dads, and we're talking, oh, did you see the swing? Yeah, gosh, she just really, it's like we just analyze, and doing it on national television, it was a lot easier, I guess, than I thought. But it's been a ton of fun being able to especially do the Women's College World Series, best in the country, and the fans that are there. And now, you guys, this year they just announced, ESPN just announced their schedule yesterday. We have over 80 games, unprecedented amount of games on television. I know when I was growing up, even when it was on the Olympics, we only saw like the highlights. You never even saw like one softball game on television. And now we have over 80 this spring. And that is huge, and so it's really cool to be a part of that.
Yeah, and it sounds like, I think over the years too, you've got more comfortable with being, not critical, but being a little bit more like telling it how, I know at first that was something you were afraid of, but now it's like, if a girl screws up, you're not within reason. We know they're college kids, but
yeah.
Is that something that took a little adjusting to kind of be a little more critical, like you have to be as an analyst?
Well, what I learned is I crossed into baseball, and so I've been doing more MLB, and I do the College World Series also, is that, I work with John Kruk, and he's not afraid to be like, he sucks, or, he's just going to say it like it is, and tell you why. It's not just being critical, but, hey, he's really struggling with this pitch, this is why. And I found that with women's sports, we were kind of being taught to be more rah-rah. Like, oh, like, isn't she great and pretty and cute and everything's in a perfect little bow, and like, she really tried hard on that even though it went right between her legs, but boy, she tried hard. And, I felt like that's the way we had to be. And I'm like, if we're going to be real, if we're going to be taken seriously, like, we are female athletes. Yeah, we are cute and we do try hard, but at the same time, we make mistakes. And we're a real sport. And once I started doing more baseball, I realized, I want to bring that to softball too. I don't want to just make us cute and pretty all the time. I want to make us real. And I want viewers at home to know the good and the bad. This is the right way to do it, and this is maybe not the so right way.
Yeah, you've gotten a lot better at that. I know that was
Oh, thanks. Look at, she's like.
It's good. It's very good. I watch every single game, even the ones that are like 1 a.m. because we have like you guys are like 3 a.m. weather delays. Which that was interesting, the tornadoes. Was that very fun this year, or having to go underneath the stadium?
I was 7 months pregnant. I had my 3-year-old with me, and we were forced to go down in the basement, which happens a lot in Oklahoma, but this was like, for real, like the tornadoes hitting our hotel, and there's going to be nothing left. And I'm just like taking deep breaths. My phone's ringing off the hook because we're all over the news. Like, Oklahoma City's going down, and Toby Keith's down there with us because they were all playing a charity event because the tornado had just hit the week before. So we had like all these celebrities, and we're crammed into a room probably half the size of this. This is a whole hotel. And I'm sitting there on the floor, with my belly, and I got my 3-year-old on the iPad thinking, he had no idea what was going on. He's like, look, Angry Birds. I'm like, yeah, keep playing, get the pigs, get the pigs. But loud, literally all the power went out. He had no idea. So I think it would have been a lot harder if he started freaking out, but he was fine. My husband, who usually never travels, was there, and he's just looking at me like, what did you get me into?
We're at the Rose Bowl. I know you're a big you're a Stanford alum, Nerd Nation. That's a big thing for you.
Fear the tree.
Fear the tree. How much was it? That's being in an institution like that. You hear, the sports part of it, but you're there, and there's like Nobel Peace Prize winners probably going to class. How was that college experience for you? You're big on education, big on pushing education for kids. How was the whole college, especially Stanford? Because it seems like it's a pretty unique environment.
What I liked about Stanford is you had to get in as a student first, and even other schools that I was being recruited by, they're like, oh, we'll just get you in. No big deal. You're softball player. We'll get you. We'll bypass all of admissions, which I think to some people is like, sweet, all right, like free ticket. And I think what I really liked about Stanford is they were going to challenge you. Like, you got to get in as a student first before we even offer you anything. And that gave me pride in the fact that if I can get in, which was a big if, But once I did, I knew I was going to be surrounded by people that were there for the right reasons. And I wanted that. I wanted it to be hard. I'm not going to name other schools that I'd been recruited by, but they're like, oh yeah, we have athlete classes. Like we have, you know, you can major in this, and basically it's all the athletes, and they get if you're going to miss, and they pretty much will pass you no matter what. And I didn't like that.
Yeah.
You know, I wanted the student athlete. Like I really legitimately wanted this degree to be something I was proud of. And that was something that Stanford really brings. And you look at the football players, but you read the stories behind a lot of the guys, and it's pretty cool that they're not just this blue collar, I'm going to hit you in the nose football team, but they are also, you know, going to Africa in the summer and helping kids do blood transfusions and doing all this like crazy stuff beyond just sports.
Yeah, I know, and you guys are, the Stanford athletes is crazy on Twitter. I felt like you guys are all still like a fraternity, like within its own. Like, you're like the volleyball players, you guys are all, is that how, once you go to Stanford, do you like, are all the athletes pretty close? Like, you guys seem like.
Well, we're all a bunch of nerds, so we have to find each other because it's hard once you graduate and you're just like this nerdy person. You're like, where are my people? I need Nerd Nation. But what's cool, too, is it's a very small undergrad. We had 6,500 undergrad total when we were there. And so you think about other schools are like 45, 50,000, a lot of the UCs and Cal States, and we had 6,500. And so it's very similar, not to high school, obviously more, but it's very intimate. And you live on campus. For me, all 5, even my master's year, I lived on campus. So you're there with the freshmen, with business school, with medical school, everybody, you're all together in our little bubble. And it's pretty cool. We're a bunch of nerds, so we like to get together and just be nerdy.
Check out the Agumake sisters with all the rap videos. They're the basketball players. It's fun. You know, obviously the broadcasting is taking you now. I mean, do you, in the professional, you had to take kind of a year off with having your son. Is that something you're still planning to go back to and play professional? I know you were kind of a little bit in limbo.
Just got a lot hotter.
I'm sorry. Are we going to break news tonight? Are you going to go back and play? I mean, have you determined that yet, or is that still softball still in your future as a player?
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, honestly, I would love to, I mean, softball's so near and dear to my heart. And my last season, I had the best season I've ever had. And so I feel like, gosh, I can still play. Like I always thought when I'd retire, it was because people were showing me the door, like, Jess, you're done. Let's go, you know? But I feel like I can still play. But, you know, at the same time, being a mom just changes everything. You know, it's really hard to pull myself. Now I have a 5-month-old and my 4-year-old, and it was one thing to have one, and he was out at the field with me in the dugout, and oh, it's such a great experience. But now with 2, I just feel like all I want to do is spend every free moment I have with them. And to be the level of athlete I want to be, it's a lot of training, you know, and it's not just show up to the field and you're good. And that's just the only way I can play. I wish it was like pick up fast pitch, you know, softball down the road, and I could just go and have fun. And I just only know how to play one way, and that's like to be the best. And to be the best, you got to train. And right now, I mean, I'm just enjoying being a mom.
Yeah, you would be a good ringer for some slow pitch leagues. I remember we went to Ojai. Remember that time we went to Ojai and your brother was playing slow pitch, and they put you in, and no, like these girls are like, she looks like she plays softball. You just won like the gold medal, and like you hit a home run, and they're like, wow, she can hit. And I'm like looking at them like, oh my gosh.
That's funny because I actually yelled at, I think it was my brother, because he was playing shortstop and he made a couple errors, and I'm like, you're out of here, you're in the outfit. Can we get some other shortstop? And I was like taking it so seriously. This was like E-League, like total like for fun. We're out here enjoying it. I couldn't enjoy it. I'm like, we got to win, guys, and we're making errors. They scored 10 runs. Like, this is ridiculous.
All the guys, you just got all the guys' mouse drops as the ball's like going over the fence, and the girl's like, she's pretty good. I'm like, oh my gosh. That was, it's my one memory. I'm thinking, yeah, she just won a gold medal, but that's okay. You do a lot of the speaking and stuff. I know you get a lot of questions from parents and a lot of kids. What's probably, I know it's hard to pick one, maybe 1 or 2 with you, but biggest piece of advice that like a main thing that you would give to parents or kids, whether it be about softball, about life? Is there something that you really?
I think with parents, it's, because I think about mine, and now that I am one, is just really like finding the uniqueness of your child, and I think it's hard sometimes because you see the potential, and that's probably what I get from more parents than anything. It's like, oh, my daughter is so good. You know, she has all this talent, but I can't get her to want to practice, or, you know, she just doesn't seem to care as much. You know, how do I get her to want it more? And I think that's something that comes, it's not coachable. It's not something you can teach. I honestly think sometimes backing off a little bit is the answer. And I think nowadays with travel ball and everything, I think it's gotten out of hand where girls are playing year round. There's never a break. There's tons of games. And there's nothing about winning anymore. It's all about like an hour and a half drop dead. You're done with the game. There's no winner. And to me, like I played and I wanted it because I did want to win, you know? And anyway, I just think it's important to remember the off season and remember to kind of like back off too. But for girls, I think my biggest message has always been to stand out. And I think when I think of standing out, there's the obvious like pitcher that throws 70 miles an hour, or the hitter that hits 50 home runs. That's like 1% ever of anyone that can do that. But standing out in your own way. So stop trying to fit in. You know, I think a lot of times we get caught up of being like our teammates, being like our BFFs, and wanting to be like everyone else. And the college coach, the travel ball coach, they all look for the players that stand out. And you're going to stand out by finding what's different about you and accepting those differences, you know, and being like, I'm different because I am silly, or I'm different because I'm shy, or I'm different because maybe I don't want to go out with my friends all the time, or whatever it is about you, be different and stop trying to fit in. And I think society pressures us a lot to be like everyone else, but I think the coolest thing that you can do is be different.
I guess we're eventually going to take some questions here, right? Tim, how are we on questions? Pretty soon? 10 right now? We're stopped? Okay, we got 10 more minutes. Okay, good, because we can fly through like 3 hours with you. Again, I mean, kind of on that, I guess, you know, we mentioned all your accolades and everything. Is there anything that you haven't accomplished? Like, is there a one accomplishment out there that's eluded you that you've always thought, oh man, dang, I didn't do that? Because I mean, I can't, I'm looking at your thing, I'm just like, good grief, like there's nothing you haven't done.
Oh, there's stuff every day, Rhiannon. Every day I wake up and bless my husband, because I'm always got some kind of plan.
Really?
I want to run for senator. I want to, you know, travel the world and save it. And, you know, I'm going to do it I was in Nicaragua last year and Rwanda the year before. And, you know, I think every day I wake up and I'm like, there's more I can do. There's a way that I can make a bigger difference. And whether it's with my own two sons, sometimes it's that simple, just like being in their lives and being just a good mom, and whether it's making homemade applesauce or, you know, that's my Susie homemaker for the day,
Really?
or I want to go and conquer the world and just like literally travel country by country and help save it and be better, you know, help it be better. And but yeah, I think for me it's just, I think that there is never enough. You know, it's never like I'm going to sit back and go, all right, got the gold medal, I got check, you know, my list is done, I'm good. The way I'm wired, I'm a little crazy. And I think, you know, even with broadcasting, you know, I want to be the first female analyst for baseball, and I think we're going to do that this year. I'm hoping with MLB, you know,
Ooh,
baseball
heard it
tonight,
here
tune in
first.
this spring.
Heard it here first.
So breaking down hitters and being able to be the first female to really analyze baseball. So be side by side with John Kruk, but not be the reporter, be the analyst. And I'm constantly on the phone with ESPN trying to make that happen, and they're supportive. And I just signed a 3-year deal, so I think we're going to do it. But again, I just want to like keep knocking down barriers, keep moving forward, and every day there's something new.
I mean, is politics something you were interested in?
When I graduated from Stanford, the irony is I wanted to go to Stanford because I didn't want to depend on softball. It was like, you know, what's the degree that you're going to use? And I think every athlete should think about that. You know, what are you going to use for the rest of your life? Because sports is not going to carry you through. And then ironically, I just kept playing softball. But at Stanford, I was very passionate about politics. I wanted to move to DC and get involved. And then it's funny because I was president of the Women's Sports Foundation, worked closely with Billie Jean King, and we would go and meet with senators and talk about Title IX, and I just got so disheartened by like politics.
The political process?
And the process.
Oh, shocking.
And
you and
how
everyone
long
else in the
people are
world.
there, and they're just like, you know, don't get me started, but it's just crazy to me. And anyway, it's still something I think about, but I'm also, it saddens me the process to get there, and that it's not just as simple as like, I feel really strongly about these things, like, are you with me, let's go. It's like, no, you gotta raise like $30 million, and then you gotta take these people with you and do whatever they say. That's not politics, but.
But you have been able, in a way, to impact. I mean, I guess that's how you view it, because you've done like with the State Department, you've gone, like you said, on trips to.
Yeah.
I mean, how has that been? How has that experience in, going overseas and trying to? I know you even went with the troops to.
Afghanistan.
You and Angela, who's another Olympian that's from Simi Valley, who's winter hockey.
Yeah.
You guys went together, which you didn't even. I don't think you knew each other before, but. How has that experience been, going and representing the United States for things that aren't just wearing the jersey?
It's eye-opening. A lot of it's sad, to be honest with you. I mean, going to Afghanistan, and we visited children's hospitals and troops, and where they took us to, they really wanted us to get to the heart of where it was a little more, these guys are really facing it day in and day out. And that was just a really, my husband is a Marine, and I just remember calling him from Afghanistan and just thanking him. And I had an appreciation for him beforehand, but just what our military, is doing, the sacrifices, and just to look, whether it's a child or a man or a woman in the eye, and what they are sacrificing. It was incredibly emotional, and it was an Olympic year when we got to visit them, and so I actually put, one of the soldiers had given me his flag from his uniform, and I put it on my uniform at the Olympics, and it just, a part of me is like, we're both representing our country in two very different ways, but it just made me that much more proud to be, where we're from.
And you've gone back to like other countries too, with like the State Department.
Yeah, so
how is
Nicaragua.
that? Yeah, and you're not going to like Paris or something. You're going to pretty.
Yeah, no, State Department's not.
Yeah, they don't
us.
send you to like nice fancy places.
No. Well, Nicaragua, I didn't realize is the second poorest country in all of the Americas, behind Haiti. And again, where they send us is like the poorest of the poor, and we're working with these girls that literally like don't even have, like, they're not fully clothed, like no shoes, let alone, I'm bringing in, we brought in like $10,000 worth of equipment, like bats and gloves, and I ended up just leaving them my socks and like simple things that you just never would think, you take for granted here. I go to a fast pitch tournament, and every girl's got their own helmet and 2 bats, and they switch their uniforms, and it's just amazing. And then you go to a country like Nicaragua, and the simplest smile, goes a long way. And it just gives you that perspective, but also just how much we can do. And that's what just drives me every day, is like, we can just do so much to help others, whether it's someone in your neighborhood. I think about Moore Park, where I live, and there's people there that could really use help, and something that's so simple. I want to raise both my sons to appreciate, what we have and not take it for granted. But I think it takes you looking in the eye of a lot of these kids, especially, because they don't know any different. And to be honest, a lot of them are very happy too, because they don't know materialistic items. They don't know any different. They don't have television. They don't see all the things they don't have. So in their mind, they're just happy to be there. But to be able to work with these girls was just, to be honest, they wanted us to come down there and teach them how to hit a curveball, and I ended up spending a week just hanging out with them. I think that was just so much more meaningful to them than be like, okay, hold the bat like this, and you want to keep your hands inside the ball and really break down their swing. I'm like, they don't have clothes, like, we're kind of missing the point here. And so that was kind of why I felt like we were there.
Yeah, I remember you telling stories about that. It's kind of, we're very fortunate here in the county, especially. I know that's something you always make time to come back. I mean, you live here, but you always, like, every time you mention it, whenever you can. What being so, like, make sure you, like, your roots. You're very strong with your roots. You always mention it. Why is that?
Ventura County gets no love. I mean, it drives me crazy.
Orange County, that's all softball heaven.
So even like people who are from Southern California, and I tell them that I'm from Ventura County, and they look at me like, where is that? Like, they live in San Clemente, or they live in El Segundo, and they're like, is that like on the way to the outlets? And we get
yes,
no love.
it is. We have the outlets.
To be honest, there's a part of me that loves that. I'm like, yeah, you don't know where we are, and don't come. We don't want you. Like, we're pretty happy the way we are. And that's why I moved back here. I love that it's quiet, and it's not LA. We're close enough if we need that crazy, fast-paced, nutty LA life, but at the same time, we have our own pace here. And I love that we're still like that gem of California that really a lot of people don't know about. And I love it. I love it because I brag about where I'm from. I love the fact that I'm not from Orange County because 90% of my teammates were from California and they're all from Orange County. And that's great. Go Orange County. But I love that this place is special and the athletes that it brings out are special and they're unique. They're not as arrogant and annoying, I think, too.
Yeah, I agree with you there. I'm full agreement with that.
They got all their fancy modern
Yeah, they
days and their
pull in like my Honda. There's all these Mercedes around.
They're
I'm like,
annoying.
It's good, yeah. So what are you? Is that right now in your immediate future? Is that basically? Are you really focusing on, like you said, the broadcasting, the baseball, trying to get that up and going? Is that right now what you're kind of putting some? Obviously, raising your two boys is priority number one. But is that kind of what we could look for in the future?
Yeah, college football. Just got off schedule with that. Been doing a lot of college football, MLB, doing college baseball, and then college softball. And this time of year, because I don't do basketball, I do a lot more of my clinics. So I'm leaving for Michigan in a couple days, and I'll go over there. But I also try to kind of just like not like plan anything. And we just got back. I had a photo shoot in Orlando, and I brought my boys out for a week, which about 2 hours into Disney World, we did 5 days at Disney World with a 5-month-old and a 4-year-old. Yeah,
Hey.
I know, right? It's smart. About 2 hours in, my husband looked at me and was just like, I hate you. But we honestly, it ended up being so much fun because we were there for 5 days and it was a business trip. So everything, we didn't have to worry about rushing everywhere. And we just kind of hung out as a family. And it was kind of nice because no one cared who we were or what we were doing. And we would just take our time, and I realized that a 5-month-old can actually go on quite a bit of rides at Disney World. I don't know if you knew that, but all the Peter Pan and Dumbo and all those rides, they just strap him on, and he loved it. He even went on Haunted House. Didn't get scared.
I
Totally
don't
good.
That's but yeah, I mean, I knew, and you were down there doing a Mizuno shoot. Was it Mizuno shoot or was it
Spalding.
Spalding shoot?
Yeah.
Okay, all these sponsors you have.
No.
And you, it was Jenny Finch, and I saw there was a lot of. Was it
Francesca?
Yeah.
Valley Girl. Yeah.
When are we going to see that stuff? Is that going to be?
It should. I think it's a cover shot for Softball Magazine, and then we did like a couple digital commercials. It'll be fun. They're actually, my mom had to go. They wanted to get videos of me and Finch when we were like 12 years old playing softball. So I called my mom, and I'm like, "Can you find? This is really sad." So then the next question was like, "Okay, how do we get it from VHS?"
Oh gosh, yeah, that's right.
How do we get it from the 8mm tapes?
Those are the kids out there that have no idea what you're talking about.
Yeah, they're like, what?
What
It's
is that?
like when my husband talks about 8-track, and I'm like, wow, you're old, and it's like, that's what I felt like. But yeah, so we had a scrounge up video of me when I was 12, 13 years old, but I think it's going to be cute because it's going to be Finch and I. We're doing all these cool stuff now, action shots, and then they're going to show us when we were little and kind of that process and just how, honestly, like even when you're 8, 10, 14 years old, whatever level you're at and how it just keep working and you can end up at any level you want. Honestly, it's pretty incredible, especially if you guys can see what I look like when I was 12. No one was saying Olympian or maybe even like...
I don't know about that. I think you're pretty good. You went to Orange County. That shows you, because you were... You had to go to Orange County. You were on the waves with us in Goleta, and then we're like, she's too good for us. And Orange County next year, we're like, there you go.
I hated that you had to do that.
I know, you had to, though.
We had to commute. My poor parents driving to Orange County. I think about that now. I'm like an hour and a half, 2 hours every day in the summer. Every day, just to get on the best travel team. And stick with Ventura County. We have the best athletes here. We just need to stick with our own. But
well, we have way more teams now, right, guys? Is there more club teams? There's Pumas now. There's a new club team every year. I call it, I play for this. I'm like,
good.
What's that?
Stick with Ventura County, because those Orange County folks, they can have their people.
We're pretty good here, so. Well, so I think we're going to open up to questions because I know there's probably tons of questions, so I want to just slow them short. I could ask tons more, but I'd like rather people come. I'm sure there's a lot of people out there that want.
All right, if you have a question, you get a poster, a free poster.
There's free posters too.
There's only one free poster, actually. Right here, up in the front. You get the only free poster that there is. Everyone else, $10.
What age did you find out that you wanted to play softball for a long time?
For a long time? That's a good question. I I don't know. I honestly, I played a lot of sports. I was really into snowboarding. I played basketball, softball, soccer. And basketball for a long time was the sport. And that's what got me first interested in Stanford, because Stanford's like well-known women's basketball program. And so I looked at them and watched them and just never kept growing and didn't get good enough, basically. And so that's why I think, for me, it was almost like softball chose me. When I got to high school, I still was passionate about it, but I was just better at softball. I was getting recruited through softball. And I think it's really important, I believe, to play sports for a long time, multiple sports, because you never know, you change, And I look back now and I can't imagine my life without softball. But if I had to choose at 11, 12 years old, I probably would have picked basketball and made the wrong choice. So I think softball chose me. I played multiple sports until I got to college. So until that point, that's when I realized, okay, we're in this for the long haul. Let's go. Let's see where it takes us. What's your name? Hannah. Thanks for asking the first question.
I love
She's
Hannah.
like, my dad made me.
Do you have any advice for when you get really stressed? What should we do?
Stressed with sports, stressed with
Like
school.
stressed with softball.
Stressed with softball. It can be stressful, especially when you're struggling. And first of all, how many softball players are in the room right now? All right, I got to give you guys credit, first of all, because you've picked a sport that is really only for like the mentally toughest female athletes. Like if you want an easier sport, you can run track, you run in a circle. Just kidding. Just kidding. But softball, you fail all the time. You guys have picked a sport that is going to knock you down every single game, and you'll still be good. You guys have heard, you bat 300, it's a good batting average. You're failing 7 out of 10 times. If you got a 30% on a test, yeah, big fat F, maybe you spelled your name right? So in this sport, you're going to be challenged. It's going to knock you down. And that stress, it's hard because you care. You want to do well. And I always embrace it, but at the same time, I've had moments where I'm in tears. I'm crying because I am so upset with how I'm playing. I'm so stressed by what I'm feeling, the pressure, everything, And what's helped me is realize, why am I playing? Because I know I'm not playing this game to be stressed. I'm not playing this game to be crying. That's definitely not the case. I'm playing this game because I love this game. I love my teammates. I love the other little moments, not the getting the big hit all the time, but the moments when, you make a great play and someone comes and, gives you a pat on the back, or just the silly moments when you're doing a cheer in the dugout and, you're stumbling over your words, or you're making up something silly about one of your teammates and they're up to bat and they give you a dirty look, or, just those little things that you're going to remember for the rest of your life, and you're going to forget about everything that's stressing you out in this moment. Like, you really are. And I can say that now because I look back and my memories are full of just the silly stuff, the fun stuff, the reason why I played the game. But just know, you picked a sport that's going to challenge you. It's never going to be easy. But I give you guys all credit because you guys have picked softball. That means you're tough. The wimpy stuff, leave that. I tell you, run in a circle. Do it. Go. Follow the person in front of you. But for us, it's going to be hard. But it's going to make you even better. You're going to be stronger for it.
Look at all these hands going up now. I told you.
You said that you liked when people are different when they're playing. Like, how did you make yourself be different when you went and tried out for like the Olympic team against everyone who's played before? When you felt like
That's a good
intimidated
question.
by
What's your name?
Jamie.
Jamie?
Yeah.
Watch her name. She's taking your job here in a few years.
Where are you going to go to high school so I can
Yeah, exactly.
do a feature on you?
I think there's the, being different on the field and being different off the field. On the field, how I found myself to be different was to know, my strengths and know who I was on the field. So for me, I wanted to make sure that I wasn't trying to be Jenny Finch. I wasn't trying to be Lisa Fernandez because I wasn't them. I was who I am. So my strengths as a player is I can hit. I can, die for balls. I get very into the sport, meaning I'm going to be covered head to toe at the end of the tryout with dirt and grass, and a ball's not getting by me. So just for me to be different by sticking with what I know and not look around and say, well, she's doing this and she's doing that. Maybe I should try this and that. Especially when it comes time to like go time, compete, just look yourself in the mirror and take your own accountability, meaning like if something goes wrong, it's only you that can fix it, and be different that way. Because I think nowadays being the same is like more the Debbie Downer, like, this is so hot out here. Oh, I hate my coach. My parents are so lame. Oh, my teammates are this. It's easy to be that person. We all fall into it. Like, I'm guilty. We fall into just wanting to be negative. Be the positive. Be the one that's out there going, it's hot, but I'm sweating. Guess what? My muscles are warm. Let's go. Like, this is softball weather. I didn't play softball to play it in the cold. I played it to play in the heat. So let's go, you know? Yeah, our coach is silly and crazy, but you know what? He's our coach, and I love this game. And notice I said he. Sorry about that. But he. And, you know, just being that different person that's not always trying to be like everyone else. And there's lots of examples of that, I guess. Jamie, I can tell you're smart already, so stick with that, too. Don't be afraid to study and tell people you're studying. It's okay. Nerd Nation, we rock.
With the glasses.
Yeah, with the little Band-Aid.
How did you like balance schoolwork and softball, like especially in college and everything, like with softball like every day and stuff?
It's a good question. It took me some time to figure it out. I'm still figuring it out, to be honest with you. No, school and softball is something that to be able to excel at both, you have to manage your time. And I know, again, that sounds cliche, but for me, I'm like easily distracted. And when it came to Stanford, you know, my parents weren't there. I'm on my own. It felt like the first quarter felt like summer camp. You know, it's like all my friends, there's all these social things to do. I mean, there's just so much fun. And I found out that for me to get good grades, for me to be the best softball player, but still have friends and be social, that was important to me. I had to, for me, it was after dinner, I had to go to the library. And this is what I did for myself. I had to make sure that I allotted time away from people, because I'd literally be in my room, so I'd be like, anyone want pizza? I'm like, what, squirrel? Like, gone, you know, like, let's go get pizza, you know, at 1 a.m, or, you know, 'cause that's college. Like, everyone's up, everyone's doing something. I needed to be in a quiet place, so as soon as, after dinner, because eating was very on the, like, top priority for me, after dinner, I would just spend whatever time I needed, whether it was an hour or 4 hours, depending on what I had to do. And I was in a library. And in a library, they're not fun, so you're going to be there and you're going to study. And that's how I was able to find out how to balance. The softball part came easier because I always, you know, you have a lot of time for practice and training. I just had to make sure to get enough sleep and make sure that I was going to be, you know, the best that I could be when I was out there.
Thank you.
So I know you're going to say your dad was your best coach, for sure. I know Gil, I love him. I want you to talk about his influences on you as a coach, and I want to hear about other people that were influential in your career as an athlete.
Who are the any dads coaching out there? God bless you. I mean, my dad and I mean, obviously, he still is my coach, you know. I mean, I'll be out in a game, you know, even at the Olympics, there's like 15,000 people, and I can hear my dad saying, keep my front shoulder in. Over 15, I'm like, how do I hear his voice? It's always here. It doesn't go away. But that's you know, your coach. And I think what's cool is I think about the teenage years, you know, when I knew it all, right? 'Cause you know it all. Like at 14, I did, totally. Yeah. And, you know, him and I would battle. And it was that constant, you know, he could be telling me exactly what I needed to hear, but I didn't want to hear it. And there'd be, you know, just there were times I got left at the field and, you know, times that I may or may not have thrown my bat. I can't believe I acted like that. But
we all did.
you know, he came back the next day and we went at it again. And I think that's what's the interesting part about having a family member coaching you is the good and the bad, you know. It's like he knew everything there was. Like, he really did. But I only probably retained about 50% because he's your dad. And that's how it is. So for the dads out there, keep going because they do listen. And there will be a day when they'll thank them and say that they're the best coach they ever had. And moms, sorry. Yes, thank you. And moms too. I can't, because I'm going to be the coach coaching my 2 sons, so I'm with you.
Rock, yeah.
So keep going strong, moms, because honestly, and my mom gets very little credit.
Can you say something?
Oh, no.
Oh, here's that.
Mom just came up. Time
That's,
out.
yeah,
My mouth shut.
yeah.
And that saved my kids.
It's true.
I think he's going to break down this film of our interview, and like we're going to have to go through. I think that's
Yeah,
what
my
Gil's.
dad's
You're
filming.
taping this. I'm
My
afraid we're
dad's
going to sit
filming
down.
this.
Our interview skills are going to
Yeah.
be put to the test here.
Yeah, but besides my father and mom, I feel like I just had a lot of different coaches I took different things from. I had John Rittman at Stanford, I had Mike Candrea on the national team, but for me it became more about role models than anything. You know, I had great coaches, but it really came down to just having influences more than anything. People that I was blessed enough to be, they were following the right path, and I was able to kind of see the decisions they were making and make those decisions as well. But every coach I've had, good and bad, I was able to take something from everybody. And I think it's important for every player to know that you might not have the best coach, but instead of complaining about it or finding the negative, I think there is a positive to every coach. And I think the more questions you can ask, the better you're going to be. I was the athlete that just drove coaches crazy. Oh, why are we doing this? Like, how's this going to make me better? How do I hit this pitch? Can we work on it? Can we stay after? How many times? Can we watch video? I mean, literally, John Rittman would lock his door at Stanford. Be like, go home.
There's no open door policy anymore. Jessica's coming shut door policy.
But I was able to learn from a lot of different coaches.
You can ask her. Right up.
Go ahead, scream it really loud.
What position did you play?
What's your name?
Cameron.
Cameron, what position do you play?
Pitcher.
You're a pitcher? What's your best pitch? Fastball? Looks at Dad. Glenn, yeah.
Drop ball.
You work on that. How old are you?
7.
Oh, wow. You look like you're 11. All right, so what was my position? So I started as a pitcher. That was when I was 7, I was a pitcher. And then I became a shortstop. And then in high school, I was a catcher. And in college, I was a center fielder. And on the Olympic team, I was a left fielder. So it's a lot of different positions. And it was cool because I never just said, I'm just a pitcher. I was always willing to try new things. And I think I still hold the Camarillo Rec League record for most hit batters as a pitcher.
Wow.
So
There's a lot of people out there. I got hit by Jessica Mendoza when she was a pitcher.
Yeah, a few casts.
Still have the scar.
Yeah.
Sign it.
So pitching I was not going to beat out Jenny Finch, that's for sure. But it worked out the way it did. That's why, outfielders, I love you. I mean, we don't get a lot of love, but we're rock stars. But there's a lot of different positions out there, especially at 7. Get a lot of options for you. Work on a changeup around 9 years old, and you're going to just blow everybody away.
Any other questions? Look at this.
Quieted the room.
One more question. Okay, who's got the last question? There you go. He put his hand up.
Kind of a two-part question. You clearly never burned out of softball, but did you ever get to a point where you were close to burning out? How did you deal with that? And the second part is, with all the different coaches, all having different philosophies and different ways of teaching the mechanics, how did you satisfy the changes of the coaches trying to teach you different things?
That's a good question. The first one was, I'm forgetting now already.
Burnout.
Burnout, yes.
And avoiding burnout. And when you did have it, what did you do to deal with it?
Yeah, I did. I got about 14 years old, and it was because instead of going from 14 under to 16 under, we decided to do 14 under to 18 under. And I was on a team out of Orange County, and it was the first time leaving Ventura County. I was on a local Ventura team, and went to kind of the big dogs, 18-year-olds. I was 13, and I burned out more because it was just about the game, and I had no relationship with any of the players. They were older. They were talking about things I had no idea what they were talking about, and they were kind of mean, to be honest with you. I was this new kid from way up north in Ventura County, that crazy place, and I was young and immature, but I could play. and they just weren't accepting. And it made me realize, I remember I asked my parents, I didn't want to play anymore. And they were smart to read between the lines and hear not, I don't want to play anymore, but hear more of maybe it's this team. So we made a change and we switched to a team out of the Valley, and it was still 18 under, but it was a lot more of my age group and more local. There was Cindy Ball, who was the pitcher on our high school team, and a lot of players I knew. And it made me realize that as much as I love the competitiveness of the game and the individualness, like being up to bat in those moments, I play this game because of the team. I'm not going to get along with everybody, but I think there's something important about the camaraderie and that being a huge emphasis and getting back to being fun. And I think when it gets to the grind, you do burn out. And I think there's a reason why there's so many girls. I see them now at college that they're quitting. They have full scholarships and they're studs. And they're like, I'm done. I don't want to play anymore. It's because they're playing so many games and they've gotten away from why they first played when they were 7 years old. And your second question, see, this is what happens when I'm 5-month-old.
Different coaches and
It's
having
weird.
to adapt to each one. How do you do that? And,
That's been tough because my stance and my swing is so different. I have a very, very long stride, very long stance. I would never teach anyone to hit the way I do, and I swing out of my shoes, and there's nothing wrong with that. I think that's cool, but I like to hit pitches way above my head, and I get a lot of coaches that are like, let's shorten your stride, and God bless them, they've tried, and I think even like the best coaches just realize that you should never cookie cut a hitter. You're going to have your philosophies, but if I were to look at my swing compared to any of the other good hitters, I might look different in the beginning, but there's certain points like toe touch, so when you get to where your stride foot is landed to contact, that's the important part. Everything else, I think, let players be who they're going to be, as long as they can get to that toe touch and to that contact. And I think I've been blessed to have coaches, even though they literally tied chains to my legs, so like I couldn't stride more than I did, put me in a box, tried everything.
Did they nail I had the coach nail my cleat to the ground.
Oh,
that was
that's
torture.
Fun. Wow.
Yeah, I know.
Hopefully they missed like your toe.
I know, well, barely.
And I would break the chain. It didn't work. And thank goodness every coach just realized, just let her be. And I think that's important to the uniqueness of every player. But there's also the core. I had to keep my hands inside the ball to be successful. I had to make sure that I was linear and rotational and not just one or the other. There's a lot of things that you have to do as a player to be good. There's other stuff you can just let go too.
Thank you.
Yeah. Cool.
So weird. Done. Okay. You have to go home to your children. That's and they're also young. They need to go study and then go to bed. And
Study. Oh, my
Aren't
4-year-old.
you studying this?
Studying? No.
Well, these
no.
kids,
He's studying Ninja Turtles. Is what he's studying.
But these are. So he's going to give you a gift.
Yes, jmendoza.com.
You can follow her on Twitter too. She's very good on Twitter.
You'll see lots of pictures of my family.
Yes, it's
and
great.
Crazy, probably TMI.
And then if she has clinics, she'll tweet them out so you can know where to go. So I'd follow her on Twitter too. She's good.
Cool. Thank you guys. And honestly, I really want to thank CLU for making this happen because I know, and to be honest, it was Rhiannon that she totally, so sweet. She texted me and she's like, look, there's this event and I don't want you to feel obligated. She's so sweet.
She feels obligated about everything, so I didn't want to burden you. But I knew you guys would like it because she's a great speaker.
I've appreciated Rhiannon over the years. She's covered me and watched me grow even though we've grown together, which is kind of weird, but you've documented my career.
Because
it's
I
nice to
stopped
have
playing
a reporter
and you kept going, so.
that you can talk to. But anyway, I'm here because of her, and also I'm really big. I mean it, Ventura County, and it just makes me very happy the fact that I'm still from this county. I grew up in this county, and I want to help this county continue to grow, especially the little girls in the room and the moms that are rock stars. Sorry I left you out before. So thank you very much.
I just want to finish up by thanking everybody who came tonight and making this a successful event. When we first envisioned these speaking series that the Victory Club was going to put on for Cal Lutheran, this is exactly what we had in mind, with current student athletes playing at Cal Lutheran attending, community members attending, coaches from the community attending, and this is what it's all about, is getting everybody together and you know, getting some great knowledge. And so we appreciate you guys coming out and supporting this event, so thank you. And then also thank you, Jessica, for taking your time tonight out of your busy schedule.
Oh, I get some cool swag.
And you get to go home with a little Cal Lutheran bag here. So
Awesome.
thank you very much. I appreciate it.
Doubles as a diaper bag?
Exactly.
Look at that, man. Travel bag. Good. And there's posters for you guys to take when you leave.
Yeah, there's tons of posters in
I
the
even
back.
have a
They're
poster
all
on
free
my
for
wall
everybody, but
signed by
Hannah
her.
gets the first one. My girl Hannah in the front.
Yeah, there you go.